The unfortunate fact is, in a league with 8 divisions, one of them is bound to be the worst in a given year. In 2023, it was the NFC South. Now, is that the same case for 2024? What's going on, guys? Dick Support here, back to another video. Today we're talking about the NFC South. And yeah, I know, I said I was going to have some words for one particular team, and we're going to talk about them right now. Okay, let's ignore the elephant in the room for as long as we can, and just talk about why the Falcons can win this division. Well, it's about as simple as this. They have a lot of talent. They got Darnell Mooney to team up with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, who both could have big seasons now that Kirk Cousins has taken over as quarterback. The same thing can be said for Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier is one of the best number 2 backs in the NFL. The offensive line, it's still one of the best. Jake Matthews and Chris Lindstrom lead that unit again. They are one of the best in the league. And on defense, they have talent as well. Starting in the secondary, A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates are 2 of the best at their positions right now. Grady Jarrett, he's coming back from injury. Hopefully he can get back to what he was before injury, or even close to that. That'll be big for the Falcons. So they have a lot of talent on this team, and Raheem Morris is put into a great position. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If they cannot make the playoffs, they're going to have a new coaching staff, because there's enough talent on this team to make the playoffs. Now, could they make some noise if they get there? Well, there is one thing that's going to keep this team back, and it's their pass rush. Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree are gone, and while they had a terrific opportunity to take the best edge rusher, whether that would have been Latu or Turner, they didn't, and they took Michael Penix Jr., quarterback from Washington. I still do not understand this, and we can try to break this down. We can try to make sense of it, but at the end of the day, this is one of the riskiest moves any team has made in a while. And yes, I know the Packers motto, but you have to remember, the Packers were picking in the 20s, not 8th overall, and Jordan Love was 20, not 24, and didn't have a lengthy history of injuries in college. That's what Penix has. Again, it's a big risk, and you just signed Kirk Cousins to a massive contract in the offseason, and you didn't even tell him that you were planning on drafting his replacement, or you were thinking about drafting his replacement. That's just really what is making this decision even more mind-boggling to the fans. It just seems like it was half thought out. I don't know. But what I do know is, if this doesn't work out, well, Raheem Morris, he's the head coach. Like I said, if they can make the playoffs, he'll be fine. But it's the GM that is going to take all the risk here. I said this when the Jaguars GM, Trent Baalke, took Walker over Hutchinson. Where if that doesn't work out, I don't think he's ever going to be a GM again. And I'm going to say the same thing. If this doesn't work out, I can't see how the Falcons GM could ever be a GM again in the NFL. It's one of the biggest risks. And if this doesn't work out, well, I don't even want to know what he's going to be remembered for in NFL circles. But again, maybe it works out. I mean, Penix is still talented, but it's just a massive risk. Carolina, it's about as simple as this. Don't be the worst team in the NFL, and you're doing something right. Now, Bryce Young, he got demolished as a rookie. There's no other way to put it. I mean, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and this is coming after the guy that went after him had one of the best rookie seasons by a quarterback in NFL history. And his rookie season was the exact opposite of that. Now, Carolina did what they could to help him out. They got Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. They drafted Xavier Leggett in the first round. They also got Jonathan Brooks in the second round. Now, we'll see when he's going to be on the field, because he's still coming back from an injury. However, for a lot of people, he was the best running back in the draft. They got him in the second round. Not to mention, they signed 2 guards in free agency, Robert Hunt and Damon Lewis. Not to mention, they still have Taylor Morton, who's their best offensive lineman, and hopefully Ike Ekwonu can have a breakout season. Now, on paper, this offense should be better, but we'll see what happens when they get on the field. On defense, J.C. Horn, while he has had injury issues throughout his young career, he's a very talented corner. If he can stay healthy, he'll be a shutdown guy for them. They still have Shaq Thompson. He is still one of their best defensive players, leader on that team. Derek Brown, he's one of the best defensive tackles. They got Jadeveon Clowney for each seat. Great piece to have. So they do have talent on defense, even though they lost Brian Birds when they traded him to the Giants. So defense, I think they're going to be just fine. If they can be middle of the pack, I think that's a good thing for them. It's just, we're not sure how this team's really going to perform. They have a new head coach, and David Tepper, well, we know how impatient he is, even though he says he's patient. But again, you just have to not be the worst team, and you're on the right track. And hopefully that's going to be enough for David Tepper. This is going to take a few years before Carolina is really competing again. It's going to be a few years again. Bryce Young, just be better. You don't have to have a breakout season. If you can get 20 touchdowns, under 10 interceptions, then you're going to be fine. Defense, just be middle of the pack. Offense, just be same thing, just middle of the pack. Again, just don't be the worst team in the NFL. That's all you have to do. Let's face it, New Orleans is in no man's land. They're not good enough to where you think that they can make a deep run, but they're not terrible to where they're going to be picking in the top 10. And that's really one of the worst things to be when you are a pro sports team, is just middle of the pack, especially with the cap hit that they have had for a long time. The fact they've always had to get out of salary cap hell for the longest time now. And again, it's the same case. Even with the talent that they have, Chris Olave, one of the best young receivers in the league, Marshawn Lattimore, and Tyrann Mathieu in the secondary. Cameron Jordan is still Cameron Jordan. And again, they have other talent, and they got Huaga in the first round to hopefully fix the left tackle problem. We'll see if Trevor Penning can salvage his career. Ryan Ramczyk, we'll see if he ever plays again, but the offensive line should still be good. Running back, Alvin Kamara, we don't know how much he has left in the tank. He's getting up there in age for a running back. Defensively, like I said, they still have good players. Their defense should be fine, but you just don't think they really have enough to make a long run. Now, they're going to fight for the division, all right? Barring a total disaster of a season, they should be fighting for this division. The biggest question is going to be, can Dennis Allen lead this team? And Derek Carr. What's going to happen with Derek Carr? At this point, we know what he is. He's a guy that is good enough to get you wins, but he'll make enough mistakes to where you can't really trust him to make a deep run. And New Orleans, it just seems like they are trying to recapture a window that closed 3 years ago. And I don't know where they go from here. And it's really a little frustrating if you're a New Orleans fan, because you know you're going to be in salary cap hell. You know you're not going to be terrible to where you can get a top 10 pick, and you're worried what's going to happen for the future of this team. It seems like this team is still trying to win now when they probably should be building for the future. And again, I don't know where New Orleans is going to go from here. But again, this should be a team where they could compete for this division. Again, if this division is as bad as it was last year, and it could be as bad as it was last year, but how much do you really trust them to make a deep run? And I think that's all I got to say. Tampa Bay, despite a rough patch, won the division again for the third year in a row. And in 2024, they should be considered the favorites. Now, they did lose a piece in free agency. Russell Gage is gone, Devin White, Shaq Barrett, and Carlton Davis. However, they brought back Antoine Winfield for the secondary. Big piece to have back. They got Baker Mayfield back on a contract that was well earned by him. Reminded everybody why the Browns took him first overall and helped them get back to the playoffs. Mike Evans is back. Mike Evans has been there 10 years, 10,000-yard seasons. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. And then Levante David. Levante David is back as well, the leader of that defense. What more can I say about him? And then also William Golston. William Golston's been on that team for so long, and he's a great depth piece to have on the defensive line. I mean, Villa Vea, he is one of the best nose tackles in the league. You have Chris Godwin, one of the best number 2 receivers in the league. Tristan Wirfs is one of the best young offensive linemen in this league. So this Tampa Bay team you probably could say they are the best team in the NFC South. Not probably, they are the best team in the NFC South after winning the division for the last 3 years. And they're probably the team that you could see making a deep run from this division. I mean, there's not much more I can say about this team because they're just running it back again, and they have the pieces to win the division, maybe make some noise in the playoffs. We'll see what happens, but for Tampa Bay, you feel good about them. You still feel good about this team, and we'll see what the rest of the NFC South can do to try to dethrone them. Alright guys, those were my thoughts on the NFC South. Next up is the AFC West, which, as we all know, holds the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, who've had a weird offseason to say the least. See you guys then.